would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
I am here.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Goosby. Councilwoman Miller.
Here.
Councilman Muscarella.
Here. By the way, I'm going to teach you. It's Deputy Supervisor. I'm going to give you a hard time for now. To lead us in today's Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask Councilman Tommy Muscarella, who is wearing his very humble and small American flag proudly displayed. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don, I just want you to know my brother Paul was born on Flag Day.
Really? Interesting. That's you know that's good for you, Tommy. That's great. That's a good memory. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn public hearings 1 through 3 to June 28th?
So moved.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Goosby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please go next item. Public hearing.
That last time.
We have a petition of the Commissioner of Buildings. Oh, sorry. Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Baldwin, Oceanside.
Okay. Any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay. I do have a slip from Ms. Merriday. Item number 4. Good morning. Remind all speakers to come to the back and please just give your name and address and good morning.
Good morning. Rita J. Merriday, Baldwin. First of all, I'd like to know when will we be able to move back to the front as opposed to being like in the, over in the corner. That's kind of becoming an issue. But with regard to this issue, I did speak with the commissioner. He did outline to me the location and what the situation was with regard to the request for the parking. But I just want to reinforce again, I'm all for providing supports for residents who need to get access to their homes and be able to utilize the parking in front of their homes, possibly for their guests or for any type of medical assistance that they may require. But I'm still concerned, again, that we're putting a lot on our police department without giving them any particular supports in terms of helping them to address these issues and to also assist residents in this. So I just wanted to kind of address that in this body as I continue to be concerned about where our funds are actually going, and noticing in the most recent Newsday editorial with regard to Hempstead town officials seeming unfazed, by the notion that they get allocations of funds and they can't seem to either gather those funds or properly utilize those funds. So I think a public safety coordination project with our police department might be a better way to utilize the funds in addition to providing better accounting, because it seems like the town does not seem to have a clue with regard to the state and federal funds that we receive for particular scenarios, because residents are not getting these funds. Underserved, diverse businesses are not getting these funds. So the question remains, and maybe the editorial board for Newsday needs to show up at these meetings so we can get these stories covered a lot sooner as to where these funds are actually going. Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad the commissioner was able to answer the questions on the parking. I don't have any other slips on item number 4. Anybody who did not sign item number 4 that'd like to be heard? If not, may I please have a motion? Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Goosby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please go next item.
Okay. We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Belmore, Franklin Square, Levittown, North Belmore, Oceanside, and West Hempstead.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, if not, I have a couple of slips in here. Ms. Meredith. Good morning again.
Good morning. Yes, I'm just concerned about a number of residents who are trying to get assistance with handicap parking, and if there are delays with the process, if there's some type of backlog, that's pretty much what I've been hearing. So I just wanted to get some background with regard to these particular locations, the rationale for them over other areas that are still pending.
Okay, just identify yourself again. Thanks.
Yes, good morning, Supervisor Clayton, Tom Reed, representing Traffic Control. I'm sorry, could you repeat your concerns again?
The concern has to do with residents who have been trying to get handicap parking, and I just wanted to get an idea as to the selection process, why it seems to be some areas that it takes a lot longer for residents who have limitations to get this type of support. So I just wanted to know.
Well, you're asking about this particular location?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you explain about this location?
Yes, a resident can request a handicap parking space if they have the documentation of the handicap parking visor. They would just send in a copy to us, and we would visit their home and survey the area and provide them with a single parking space of 20 feet for a vehicle, and then we have to legally adopt the ordinance for that. So we do the request as they come in on a case-by-case basis from the residents.
Okay, so
Is there a backlog on that? No, is there a backlog on that at all?
No, we're pretty much up to date. It's just a matter of when the stuff gets on the calendar to be adopted.
Okay, so it's a matter of, there's no backlog from your department, but there may be an issue regarding getting it on the calendar. I'm just trying to make sure that there's no.
No, he didn't say that at all. He just said.
That's why I asked the question.
No,
Supervisor, just
no, is there any backlog?
We can only assume that the backlog may be that the resident is waiting for Nassau County to give them the actual legal permit that they can use to hang in their car so they can park in handicap parking spaces throughout the town. But generally the residents will already have the permit and send us the copy in, and then we can have that on file so we can get them the space. But we're pretty much up to date in doing it.
Cool.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other member of the board want to be heard? Anybody on the slip, any member of the public? If not, I please have a motion.
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
I second.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Perini?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Mazzarella?
Madam Clerk, please go next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in East Meadow and Woodmere.
Member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, don't have any slips. Any member of the public that should be heard on item number 6 that did not sign in? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Perini?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Mazzarella?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please go next item.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in Elmont, Franklin Square, and Roosevelt.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, don't have any slips. Any member of the public who did not sign in who wish to be heard on item number 7? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Perini?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby? Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Mazzarella?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please go next item.
Proposed local law regarding restricted parking in residential areas immediately adjacent to Belmont Park Racetrack.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do have one slip, please. Ms. Meredith? Okay, any member of the public who didn't sign in who wish to be heard on item number 8? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Somebody talking? Oh. Can I have a second?
Second.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Perini?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Mazzarella?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please go to the next item.
We have an application of Matone Group Raceway LLC and Gart Roosevelt Associates LLC to permit retail sale of automobiles as a principal permitted use and for special exception for a service facility near Westbury.
Okay, I think I see Ms. Vanessa walking to the back there. Good morning. Your name and address for the record. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor. Members of the board, William Vanesso from Shelley Deacon Tirana, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Here on behalf of the petitioners, Matone Group Raceway LLC, J&M Raceway LLC, and Garden Roosevelt Associates LLC. They together are the owners of the subject premises, which is the southeast quadrant of the Roosevelt Raceway Planned Unit Development District. The subject of this application is the former Babies R Us site, which is situated on the far easterly end of that quadrant. That building has been vacant for about 3 years, and the proposal is to introduce, the address, by the way, is 1350 Commercial Avenue, and the proposal is to introduce a Tesla electric vehicle sales, service, and delivery facility there. In order to do so, we are requesting a minor modification to the permitted uses for the planned unit development to permit, it already permits retail sales, but to make it very clear, we're requesting a modification to the retail sale of automobiles. And in addition to that, we're asking for a special permit for the service facility as contemplated by Section 371E of that article. The Tesla facility, again, will be an electric vehicle sales and service and delivery facility. The Tesla Center will be built out in the existing Babies R Us building. They're going to reuse the same building. Tesla produces electric vehicles that solely use electricity and no gasoline. They are not hybrid vehicles. The vehicles don't have internal combustion engines. Thus, the vehicles don't have a fuel tank, use oil, an exhaust system, transmission, or many of the other components that require the storage and use of hazardous materials on site or traditional vehicle ventilation. The vehicles are extremely environmentally sensitive. The showroom in the facility will have 3 vehicles on display for customers to experience the vehicles. Customers will also be able to perform a demonstration drive with the vehicles, and there will be 4 to 6 vehicles on site for the demo drive. The service facility will be work that will be done with standard servicing of their electric vehicles, which will include software updates, the replacement, tire replacement, tire balancing, alignment, minor body work, and by minor body work that means replacing parts like hoods and things like that. There's no frame straightening, there's no frame repairs, there's no painting, there's nothing to that extent. They basically keep parts like fenders and hoods on site, and they just replace them. There's no body work that's to be done. Topping off water and or refrigerant, and an occasional battery replacement. Most repairs are handled under an hour or 2. They will have a parts storage location on the premises, including a battery stack of 1 to 2 batteries. The batteries are stored in a cantilever battery rack, which is a safe storage system. As noted, because these are not internal combustion engines, you don't have the same number of hazardous chemicals that are typically stored in your typical auto dealership. There are no, the hazardous materials that would be here would basically be some cleaning materials and some lubricants, but no oil, no gasoline, no other hazardous substances traditionally parked and associated with an internal combustion engine. Hours of operation will be Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for Tesla customers to visit the site. Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The service center they would like to have open earlier at 6 a.m. and be able to work on the vehicles up until as late as 11 p.m. Not uncommon in terms of what's around. The site will employ anywhere from 45 to 50 employees in 2 shifts. It's a very good use to introduce this site. It's not going to generate significant traffic. In fact, we do have our traffic expert here if the board needs to hear from him, and he has established that the trip generation resulting from this use will be far less than any retailer that would go in there, including one of the Babies R Us was operating there. It's also easily distinguished from the standard run-of-the-mill auto dealership, because while Tesla is an automotive vehicle manufacturer, its sales, service, and delivery facilities are not typical automotive dealerships. For all intents and purposes, this facility will operate as another retail or service provider within the PUD. They don't have inventory of vehicles that are kept on site and that you could buy by walking into the building and looking and grabbing one of those and taking it home, which is in most traditional dealerships, the vast majority of sales occur that way. Here, you can either come in and see your product and order it there, or you have already ordered it online and you can pick it up there. The only vehicles that will be stored here, in addition to the demo and display vehicles, will be vehicles that have been already sold and are being delivered and picked up by customers. So it's a very different operation. It's a true retail operation, and then you have the service center that is associated with it as well. Unless the board has any questions of me, we do have a representative from Tesla, from the ownership group, and our site engineer, Chris Robinson, here. If the board has any questions, but otherwise, that's our direct presentation.
What do you want to bring it back?
I don't need to bring anyone else up unless there are questions.
Yeah, are you going to have a Cybertruck there?
Pardon?
You're going to have a Cybertruck?
Cybertruck. If they develop one?
No, what do you mean if they develop one? It's been created. Are they going to have one there or not? Yeah, okay, thank you for that answer. On the left-hand side. They're going to have one, right?
Just for you.
Come on, really? You can not have a Cybertruck.
You can finally get rid of that pickup for you.
I'll leave my truck alone. I like my truck. No, that's good. Why don't we see if any of the board members have any questions? I am going to ask you your one regarding your traffic study, because I am familiar with the location the babies are at from years of buying baby food when it's available. When you expect test drives, just for curiosity, where would you probably have the test drives go out? Would you have them go on American Avenue?
Yes, we could agree to, like we've done with other auto dealerships, we could agree that they would not go on residential roadways. They would stay to the main arterial roadways.
Okay. All right. No, because that's what I figured, that they'd come out, maybe go south on Merrick Avenue, down to Eisenhower Park, stop at the red light camera, don't get a ticket, make a right, come the other side, stop at the red light camera, and then come back to the facility, right? Sure. Okay, you promise me every one of your vehicles is going to have a license plate on it?
For the test drive, absolutely.
Good. Any member of the board have any questions?
I have one question. Are you purchasing the property, or are you going to lease and rent it?
This is a lease to Tesla. The applicant, the three names I read off earlier, Matone Group Raceway LLC, JMM Raceway LLC, and Gart Roosevelt Associates LLC, owns that quadrant as well as other quadrants in the PUD, and they are leasing this property to Tesla.
And how long is that lease? Do you know? Are they signed or in lieu of?
10 years.
Thank you.
Any other member of the board wish to be heard? Any questions?
Then I'll call up Mr. Muller to address your questions regarding the traffic.
Yeah. Listen, it's if you could, it's just that would be my one issue about where you were going to go for a test drive. And I get it, I would imagine there, but maybe you just reaffirm where you estimate your potential clientele would take the cars to the test drive in the process.
Excuse me. Good morning, supervisor, members of the board. My name is Muller Robinson, Muller Engineering. This is our 50 Elm Street, Bennington, New York. Yes, as Mr. Vanessa has indicated, the test driving will occur on the major roadways surrounding the site. In fact, the loop that you described probably most adequately describes the way that the vehicles will go. They can ride out of the site on Corporate Drive, onto Merrick Avenue, back on Stewart Avenue, I believe it's Merchants Concourse, correct? This is the next road going north, and then make the right back into the facility. And if they have to, they can get on the parkway, make a loop around, and come back around to all the major roads. This site is served by a very well-developed, significant roadway network, and that's where we would anticipate the test drives to occur. As indicated on the plan submitted as part of the application prepared by my firm, we are not seeking a parking variance as part of this application. In fact, we have a surplus of approximately 130 stalls upon the conversion of the former retail building to the Tesla dealership. And as indicated by Mr. Benesso, the peak hour traffic generated by the Tesla facility is significantly less than what would occur if the facility were occupied by a traditional retail use. From a traffic engineering perspective, this is a net positive here.
And what would you do, repairs in the back, where they usually do deliveries of items? Remember the building well, there's like a drop-off in the back of the building?
All the repairs will be occurring inside the building?
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, would it be the drop-off in the front, or would your repair wells be in the back of the building, where they'd probably drop off, usually when it was more of a commercial building?
We are adding an overhead door on the front to bring the vehicles directly in, and then all the servicing is in the rear of the building.
Okay. You answered my question. Anybody else on the board have a question? Okay. I have a couple of residents that signed in. I'm going to go through them, but you hang out here a little bit. You answer their questions. Okay, I'm going to take a guess at Wayne Muller's with you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Chris, we saw to. Jennifer, we're with you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to speak? No? Okay. Came over for that too. And JJ? Zogra?
Yeah, I don't need to speak up now.
You're there? Okay. Okay, I do not have any other slips in. On number 9, is there any member of the public that is here that did not sign in for this that would like to be heard? Okay. If you come up there and identify yourself, it'd be great.
Me, Mary Baldwin resident. Again, very disappointed that our elected officials, once again, kind of gloss over scenarios that they feel justifiably so, or maybe not, are beneficial to the public. I just need more detail, I'm guessing, with regard to the environmental impact. Looking over Tesla's initial published Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion report, which came out in 2020, I am somewhat impressed by the inclusion. I think that's a conversation that the organization should possibly have with the township with regard to their breakdown in inclusion as it pertains to their workforce and having 4% veteran inclusion. To actually detail the numbers is something that's encouraging. But I'm still concerned with regard to the outreach as well as the impact on the community. And that particular corridor, which in some locations, Babies R Us, the former location is located in Uniondale, or it's Westbury, or it's Garden City. I think we want to make sure that you're clear with regard to your actual address, because that definitely impacts those residents in those impacted communities. So my questions, again, have to do with, you mentioned about servicing, and you're talking about tires, and you're talking about some things that, while you may be talking about not much of an imprint on the environment, but there are parts of a car that do reflect issues with environment and safety for the public. So if there's more detail on that. Also, the number of jobs seem a bit small, so my question now has to pertain to your actual contracting, your outsourcing, and what programs or platforms will be in place to be inclusive, again, because the township seems to fail in that responsibility despite the many state and federal guidelines that outline what they should do. I'm just curious from a corporate standpoint and outreach. I know on the corporate level there's talk about reaching out to HBCUs, increasing internships, things of that nature, but I'm talking about the bread and butter positions. Minority women, veteran-owned small businesses, how are you going to interact with them from the supply side to be inclusive and create much-needed jobs to keep the residents here? If they possibly drive a Tesla, that's one thing, but right now I'm just trying to keep them from being homeless, particularly our veterans. So if someone can address that, so the environmental impact, the economic development impact, and again, we have colleges and universities where we have students, if there are certain types of jobs, because I see that you have a workforce, you might want to work on the inclusion, the increase of women, you're still about 80% male-dominated. That again is an issue in 2022. So those are some of the questions that I hope, because our elected officials have more of the paperwork than those of us out here. So those are my questions. Thank you.
I just want to let you know that their application does say they're located in Westbury. Just, that they listed that. Bill, if there's anybody else from corporate they want to bring up, maybe could address a couple of those questions, that'd be great.
Mr.
Chairman, Mr. Supervisor, rather, just addressing the environmental question, as we've noted, this facility, unlike a traditional automotive dealership, is extremely environmentally sensitive. It does not have gasoline, oils, other hazardous materials that would be associated with an internal combustion engine. There's no exhaust system that needs to be implemented because of the electric vehicles. Yes, there are batteries and tires, but they are stored properly, and any automotive dealership is going to have tires. The facility is going to generate 45 to 50 jobs. That's not nothing. I can't speak to, and I don't think at this level, we're going to speak to major policy issues pertaining to Tesla. That's really what's relevant to this application is the information that I provided.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vanessa, appreciate it. Any other member of the public in Senate wishes to be heard? Okay, if not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board reserve decision on this item.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Boothby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the decision calendar.
On the decision calendar, we have the application of United Gas Corporation for a permit to include an existing gasoline service station within GSS district to expand an existing convenience store and to install a canopy in Uniondale.
Okay, can I have a motion on the decision calendar?
I'd like to second, are you the young lady that was here before? Yes. Okay, I would like to tell you, that I'm very pleased with what you've done with that station, and you put down some beautiful, beautiful flowers and so forth, so I hope you keep it that way. So because you've done such a good job, I move that the board adopt this item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Boothby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call item number...
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, the administrative calendar, I'm sorry.
Yes, on the administrative calendar, we have items 11 through 59.
Okay, first, is any member of the board wish to speak on any of the items on the administrative calendar? Okay. If not, I have a couple of slips. We'll start with Felix Procacci. Morning, Mr. Procacci. If you give your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. Just number 32. I couldn't find the bid information on the website. I searched a while. Is it on the website? Is there a way of finding it? And I think it should also have been included in the resolution just for convenience.
Okay. Morning, Mr. Blower. Identify yourself.
Morning, I'm Greg Lower, Director of Communications. Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Town Board. That was an omission, not an intentional one. We'll be putting that up. That's an additional vendor for public service announcements. The Deputy Commissioner who handles purchasing is actually out with COVID right now. So hopefully he'll be back tomorrow and we'll put that up so you can have access to it.
But was it put on, like, at one point, the town was putting, requests for bids and that kind of information on the website as a matter, regardless of whether it's on the agenda. Now, it was just like if something went out to bid, they would put it on so you could see the bids.
That was an RFP. That was put out to bid. I can't address, but
I couldn't find it. I don't know. There were some bids up there, but I couldn't find this particular one.
Just one moment. It was a competitive bid, and as Mr. Blower explained, Mr. Procacci, once the Deputy Controller, who's the Director of Purchasing, is back, he'll be able to not only provide the information that may have been inadvertently omitted, but he can also answer your questions specifically with respect to this bid. But we would not be, and we would not be accepting this particular bid on the administrative calendar if it did not comply with all legal requirements.
It's just a matter of making it available to the public. Also, the information regarding it was very sparse. What are you actually requesting? What service are you providing? It's just like very general, very vague. why can't people in-house do it, things like that, because we do a lot of we have a lot of information specialists on staff. Why can't they do this type of work? We spend a lot of money on them. I just was wondering if, why is this so special and can't be done in-house?
Actually, it's a second vendor that we have, just so we also have backup for the initial vendor for things we cannot do in-house. Most of the things, 90% of the work is done in-house right now. We're trying to bring more in-house. But if there's a problem with the one vendor that we have, or we can't get access to information we need, we have this second vendor available.
Okay. Just so you brought up a point, what can't you do in-house? Give me an example of what can't be done in-house. Electronics is cheap these days.
Yeah, so voiceover work, things like that.
You can't do that in-house? That's...
Well, if you watch TV, there's very specific voices you want for different spots, things like that. Sometimes we don't have all the lighting equipment or other equipment that professional companies have, and we have to bring them in to assist our in-house crew when we shoot. Yeah, 90% of what we do or more is done in-house with our in-house equipment.
Yeah, I don't really see a need for that because it's just advertising for mostly the elected officials. I mean, we want to get information to the public to let them know that there's some sort of event, things like that, and maybe video the event if it's something that they can learn from. That would be useful information regardless of whether it's in a professional realm or not. If this meeting just performed on the $149 camera, it's good enough to provide the information to the public. And
well, sometimes, actually, when you're doing really important stuff, you want it to be a little more pristine, a little more precise, a little bit. I'm not criticizing. I mean, you're beautiful 10P, and maybe you could, you'd be great at a voiceover, but sometimes, you can give a voice. So you never know. But I'm saying, sometimes I think Mr. Blower said, it's in those circumstances, and you know what? I think he's answered your question.
No, I just don't understand. I still don't understand why we need to do these professional stuff because, like I said, whether it's a beautiful voice or not, your voice is beautiful. You can do it. Thank you.
You're flattering me. Thank you, Mr. Ricacci. I'll tell you right now. Maybe I'll take you out for a cup of coffee later. Anyway, let me see. I have another slip here from Ms. Meredith.
Yes, Rita J. Meredith. I'm kind of questioning, I was looking for item, I guess, what would be considered item 40. I was hoping there would be some kind of update since we're at the 45-day mark with regard to the Baldwin downtown revitalization. The residents have still not really heard anything from the two appointees, or I believe they may have heard something on the 9th hour, maybe Friday night. That's still a concern because we don't want something to slip in because so much has already fallen through the cracks with regard to that.
You asking a question on item number 40?
Yeah, there is no item 40, so that's what I'm saying. I was looking to see if there was an item 40 that would pertain to the Baldwin DRI.
But is there a specific question to the administrative calendar?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
And I'm owed like 10 seconds just for this order. Item 37, I'm all for regulations and compliance when it pertains to our employees, but I'm just a little disappointed that you could not separate, with all this space and paper that's already been printed, a specific resolution as it pertains to Juneteenth, as it is an important holiday for African Americans, but it's an important holiday for the nation, even though most people may not necessarily be aware of it, and after this weekend it will probably, disappear into the nexus of all of the minimal opportunities for ethnic minorities to be represented. So I was disappointed that resolution recognizing Juneteenth as a town-observed holiday didn't have its own separate line item. I have a question about item 36. What is it? What is it about? If someone can answer that question. Crickets.
Well, Ms. Meredith, we're going to ask the town attorney too, but Joe, can you identify item number 36? The undertaking.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Ms. Meredith, certain elected town officials under the New York State Public Officers Law must have a bond, performance bond, an undertaking, or a cash bond in the event of a lawsuit for breach of their fiduciary duties. The senior councilwoman was appointed, as I'm sure you know, deputy supervisor.
Found out 5 minutes ago, but go ahead.
Well, the deputy supervisor is one of the positions that requires that there be an undertaking It's simply an insurance policy. In the event of an error or omission or a other suit for breach of fiduciary duty, breach of directors and like a directors and officers policy for a major corporation. It's the same thing for a municipal corporation, and it's required by state law.
Okay, so generally in that position, her role as a specific council person, is that now changed? Is there going to be an appointee? Because again, you cannot be doing two positions at once?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that, some of her residents may beg to differ, but like I said, I just found out about this like 5 minutes ago.
Well, we did it at the last board meeting. We made a big announcement. We were honored to acknowledge and appoint the very first woman, African-American, to serve as the deputy supervisor in the history of the town of Hempstead. We actually made a big announcement about it. Everybody in the audience was really excited about it.
I'm sure we're going to get 4 mailings that say the same thing, because that seems to be, the postage budget for the township is very interesting. I get 3 and 4 full-color mailings of the same issue, but it is what it is. I just think, again, if someone gets that elevation, that the issue with regard to their position changes, and that someone should be in that position full-time to represent the interests of their constituency. So that's kind of where I am with that. And lastly, again, I'm very disheartened, again, we're in 2022, that we do not have recognition of the contracts that we put out that reflect possibly having a minority woman or service-disabled veteran. Maybe we should have the classifications family member or political connection. Maybe that, might justify the number of contracts that go to the same people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Faraday. We'll take your recommendation for the mailing under advisement. I next have a slip for Alexis. The Alexis West Hempstead? Kiana Alexis? You don't want to speak? No? Okay. I don't have any slips on the administrative calendar. Is anybody didn't sign in? Wishes to be heard on the administrative calendar? Speak now? Oh, yes, sir.
Supervisor, before we go any further, I just want to point out that item number 24 is a resolution authorizing and approving a professional service agreement between the town and Nikki Jones Agency, a wholly owned woman business. So this is an example of how the town has complied with seeking to have women and minority businesses among its contractors and its vendors.
That's one. Really? Come on now. Name the number of relatives that are listed on here first.
All right, I have a motion administrative calendar.
I move the administrative calendar.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller. Aye. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay. I'm going to request a 5-minute recess. All right? Okay. Good. Madam Clerk, 5 minutes? Yeah, adjourn with a 5-minute recess. Is there a motion for adjourn with a 5-minute recess?
I move that we adjourn. The 5-minute recess and we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
So we'll start up at 11:15. It's 5 minutes.
Okay. Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller. Aye. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Just a delay, that's on me. I had a personal issue I had to deal with. With that, I believe now we are up to we've done the administrative calendar? All right, that's great. So with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, we actually did that?
We did that too? Well, I'm really, you're 1-2 steps ahead of me there. Okay. Well, now the formal part of the town board meetings has been concluded. We will stay or remain to listen to the town's residents. And I have a number of who signed in. We'll start off with our own voiceover king, Felix Bercacci. Good morning again, Mr. Bercacci.
Felix Bercacci, Franklin Square. Yesterday, I emailed Supervisor Clavin asking that he open up an investigation into the violation of law by the town's Board of Ethics. This email was CC'd to both Ethics Counsel Stephen Leventhal and Ethics Board Member and Town Attorney Joseph Nocella. After the May 24th town board meeting, I tried to set up a time to discuss this issue with Mr. Nocella, but he just walked away from me. He told me he would respond, but this never happened. Board of Election records show that Mr. Nocella is a candidate for district court judge. A minimum requirement for a judge is that they follow the law. Based on the irrefutable evidence provided by the town, it is clear that Mr. Nocella is willing to break the law and ignore his obligations as an ethics board member for political reasons. In addition, the town attorney's office, under Mr. Nocella's leadership, intentionally violates the Freedom of Information law by not sending FOIL appeals to the Committee on Open Government. In court papers, the town writes in its defense that only the Committee on Open Government can enforce this provision, even though under state law, the committee has no enforcement powers. Mr. Nocella is aware of this violation of the law by his department he leads, but he does not stop it because Mr. Nocella puts politics above the law. From the irrefutable evidence I have seen, Mr. Nocella clearly doesn't have the ethical qualities necessary to be a judge, and the residents of Nassau County deserve better than a judge who is willing to put politics above the law. So I again ask Mr. Clayton, will you open an investigation into the allegations of wrongdoing by Mr. Nocella and the town's ethics board?
Mr. Cacci, doing this for a long time. I'm going to give you 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'll wait here for 3 minutes.
Okay.
It is very unfortunate that if I make allegations of wrongdoing and supervisor doesn't even take action, doesn't even look into the allegations, and that's very unfortunate. How do you know he's right? How do you know I'm right if you don't investigate? You just sit there and you take a stand, and that's what's wrong with this town. That's what's always been wrong with this town, that no one's willing to break when things are done wrong. They will protect their friends, and this is the problem with having a friends and family town board, town employment agency. This is a real problem.
You know, I'll tell you something. Then, 1 minute, 3 minutes. Okay, thanks, Mr. Cacci. You know, I'm going to sort of respond to that. First off, Mr. Nocella, he's definitely not related to me. I know that for a fact. And our friendship is tenuous at times, because I do, but I'll tell you one thing I do know about Joe Nocella. I do know Joe Nocella is a really good, honest, great person. The former U.S. attorney has been held in high esteem in many different regards, in many different areas. Look, I think it's okay to disagree with somebody, disagree with people all the time, and you've been coming here for a decade disagreeing with people, and that's fine. I do think the personal attacks, the allegations you make against some individuals are sometimes overstep the boundary. Joe Nocella is a good, honest person. Joe Nocella is really respected by a lot of people. Joe Nocella's got the driest personality of anybody in this world, in this room, and everybody knows that. But I'll tell you one thing, nobody's never attacked Joe's ethics, because Joe's a good, straight, honest person. And you know what? I don't often say that, you know, and go back to you, but I will say to you, I really find what he did and just said was appalling, unwarranted, unnecessary, insulting. I think Joe's going to make a wonderful jurist. I think Joe is recognized for his solid legal credentials. I know he went to law school. I know that he's in the bar, and I'm just saying to you, I really don't. You can come here and say a lot of things, and you do, but the personal attack and those allegations that are unwarranted, unfounded. You want to go someplace and make them, that's great, but that's the ugly side of this business. That people feel that they want to come in and say it. And it's okay to criticize good things all the time, but like I said, Joe's not going to engage you, but I do want to let you know, it was really terrible what you said. And you know what, like I said, he's a good, honest person. And I didn't really know Joe Nocella before I became supervisor. I asked him to join me because he's an upstanding person with high ethics and above reproach. And that's why I asked Joe Nocella to join the town of Hempstead. And he's done a stellar job. So I just want to let you know, you can say whatever you want about me. I've never been so personally insulted for somebody at a town board meeting. You don't have to like Joe Nocella. You can say he doesn't respond to your email. You can say he's the most boring guy in the world. That's fine with me. But to attack his ethics of a good person, it's just not what we need right now. So anyway, I appreciate you being here somewhat. Dorothy Claus? Ms.
Do
Claus?
the investigation
I'll have Ms. Claus-
and prove
that's
me
great.
wrong.
That's great. You can scream later on. Ms. Claus, I'm going to have him bring the mic over to you, okay? Because I know you've come a couple times. Joe, make sure that one's on, please.
Yeah, it's on.
Good morning, Ms. Claus. Give your name and address for the record. Thanks.
Good morning, all. Dorothy R. Claus, 682 Cottage Street. I received communication from Ms. C. P. Vanderhall. I called her to thank her because she responded in a timely manner. First time I got anything from this community. But all the information she gave was what she researched and found. But my lot number still remain changed. Please do not teach your children, anyone with young kids, about math. 1, 1 is 11. You put a 0 in front of that, it's still 11. You put another 0 in front of that, it's still 11. If the county wanted 4 digits, they put 2 zeros in front of the 11 of my lot number. Fine, because it's still 11. But when you put a 0 behind 1, 1, it does not remain 11. It becomes 110. Anyone who deals with numbers should know that. My lot number has been changed to 110. 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 is 110, not 11. If Nassau County wanted to have 5 digits, then they should have put 0, 0, 0, or not, 1, 1, it would have still been 11. But it has been changed to 110. You all still didn't say why Nassau County need to have 5 digits, just like you didn't say why the county needed to have 4 digits. These are explanations I'd like to have. And I do not want to have to go to your secretary, your manager, and things. I'd like to have an appointment with you executives, whom when I go to the poll, I vote for. When I call the legislator's office, I got a lady who told me, well, I run the office, tell me what's up. I said, like an appointment with legislature so-and-so. Well, I do all the work. He's going to give it to me anyway. I said, then you should be the legislature. Have a good day. I would like some answers. I do not want to be referred to on my lot number.
Okay. Ms. Vanderhall, are you here? Hi. Ms. Vanderhall is actually counsel to the Receiver of Taxes Office. I know she followed up with you. Obviously, it's a Nassau County assessment issue. We have no control over that. Ms. Vanderhall, perhaps you could reach out to the local legislator that Ms. Claus has, as well as the county executive, and ask them to take the time to sit down with her and talk to her. I know that we have no control over this, and I appreciate your efforts, but maybe you could send a communication and ask the county legislator, the county assessor, and the county executive to take time to try and help Ms. Claus. I know that you're making every diligent effort, and we appreciate that, Ms. Vanderhall. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I said we want to help you. That's why we're going to reach out to the county and ask them to take the time to meet with you. I think that's important.
Supervisor.
Yes, ma'am.
All the information that Ms. Dunhall was kind enough to do is really great. She did a wonderful job. My office sent all of that to the legislator's office and its legislator. She knows that already, I told her. But we've done all we can do at this point. And I'm sorry that she could not get an appointment with them, but maybe I will call him myself and see if you'll take the time to see you. It has to be taken care of by the county.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor. I think it's a great idea. Next, I have Stu Crow. Morning, Mr. Crow. Give me your name and address for the record.
Stu Crow, Great Neck. The potential exists for the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter to be an exemplary one. We have an excellent T&R program. However, it took infinitely too long for the program to return to full capacity, but we need to focus on moving forward, not worried about what already happened. The problem now is currently the leadership positions of the shelter. The two individuals, Pastore, the shelter director, and Fonte, the behaviorist trainer, have caused needless suffering and loss of life for our precious animals. Pastore approved a heinous facility for our dogs in Utica, which was so bad the Utica mayor was brought to tears. He gave his approval to sending cats to Good Shepherd Sanctuary in Maryland, which were previously listed as adoptable. This is a facility for feral cats. These cats would necessarily not be used to fending for themselves, particularly during the winter months. We ask ourselves why such heinous actions would be undertaken, and the only logical answer is that our shelter leadership wants the fewest possible animals living in the shelter. Our cats are too often living in cages when at any progressive shelter, and I mentioned all about cats so you seemed interested in that, they are free roaming. Cats that are caged are likely to be depressed and quite possibly aggressive. This makes them much less likely to be adoptable. That is, after all, the overriding purpose of a municipal shelter, or at least it should, to get all our animals into good loving homes. We spend very little money on promoting our animals, $10,000 if I remember correctly. Considering our $5.5 million budget, this amount is pathetically small. Our dogs are rarely if ever seen in the exercise pens, even on the nicest of days. As is true with the cats, if our dogs are not given proper exercise, their behavior will suffer. Not only does this make them less likely to be adopted, but it also puts them at risk of euthanization. And behaviorist Fonte was hired over one other applicant, Ms. Sorrentino, for the job. Fonte asked for more money. Sorrentino also had 30 years' experience. Fonte, on the other hand, lied about having most of her credentials, which I believe she now has. Yes, the logical person to have been hired for this position was Fonte. I will always be curious as to who she knew that had so much influence. How can our shelter flourish when these are our decision makers? Private rescues, in most cases, will not deal with our Hempstead shelter due to a total lack of communication and cooperation. It should be abundantly clear that a shelter will never reach its full potential with Pastore and Fonte at the helm. It appears that they're more concerned with having less animals than properly socializing the ones that are there so they can find good-loving homes. In the interest of fairness, I should say that shelter conditions under Gillen were also horrific. She demonstrated her acting ability by crying in front of the shelter over the terrible conditions. Then she proceeded during her one term to do absolutely nothing to help the animals, aside from a fresh coat of paint. In conclusion, if we are to move forward, we need a change in leadership personnel. Nothing positive will ever happen at that shelter with Pastore and Fonte in charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowell. As always, 2 minutes, 56 seconds. Well done. Next, I'm going to call up Diane Madden. Morning, Ms. Madden.
Hi, good morning. Diane Madden, Hempstead. I am appreciative beyond words that there are some new eyes, some certainly trustworthy eyes and ears involved with the animal shelter. We need a world of difference. I cannot stress enough that the shelter must come out of general services and out from under Mr. Pastore. Just last week alone, I believe over 30 dogs came into the animal shelter as strays. And while it's easy to make excuses and point to what's going on in the economy, this shelter for years should have been preparing and have been proactive instead of reactive. Even years ago, they had relationships with the vets that put animals into veterinary care temporarily, fostering them when the shelter became overcrowded or animals were very adoptable and they didn't want to put them into cages to decline. There was a growing interception program and pet retention program which diverted animals. They didn't even get inside the cages. They would go to various relationships and other shelters that those relationships were formed. Since then, those relationships are completely demolished. Again, when you have leadership that takes employees and volunteers that are either one, set up to fail, or two, highly favored, the shelter won't be successful under that philosophy. So I'm going to hold off on a lot of other issues that are going on there, but I can tell you they are underlying, they have to be examined, and until you get to the root cause of these issues, nothing really will change, even on the surface, because those issues are underlying, and many that are not even visible. For an example of the belligerence in that shelter that continues, my understanding was that a post was going to be put up on their page that made it abundantly clear, a singular post, welcoming the public to return to the animal shelter, making it clear that appointments are not necessary. Instead, and it took over 2 weeks, a post was put up, unrelated, and the sentence was put mid-center of that post. So if you look at that post, unless you click on it, you won't know that, thanks to you, Supervisor, and hopefully members of the board, there is no longer an appointment necessary to adopt an animal. This is at least the second or third obstruction that I've seen in my limited time at the shelter and research. So again, I urge this board to consider replacing the management and bringing in outside people. You cannot improve this shelter with the pool that you have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Madden. Thank you for your honesty, as always. Next up, Kiana Alexis. How you doing? You giving me that this morning? How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
I live in the Lakeview community, and I want to speak about a few questions that we have regarding the cleanliness of our streets. We sent many emails and reports in regards to when is the street cleaning schedule in the groups. There's plenty of trash and litter on all the most of the streets in Lakeview, especially on Woodfield coming down, also on Lakeview Avenue. We would like to get an answer as to if we could get a report or something regarding the groups and any of the timekeeping, because I've been living there and no one has come down my streets in probably maybe 8 years. We have not seen any street sweepers.
Okay. I know our Kuser from the Highway Department. Our Commissioner sits at the Highway Department. He will tell you the street sweeping schedule. In addition, I know that the Deputy Supervisor wanted to point it out to me. That what's Woodfield?
Woodfield Road happens to be going to the county. And I know that you've written, we have sent your request to the county to take care of that because it's there. Eagle Avenue is also county. I know you sent another one in, one that's to clean Woodfield Road over the overhead. That belongs to the state. So what the things that you asked us to do, we've done. And by driving out, we have gone through Lakeview, driving on our own, and some of the things you were talking about, the houses and so forth, that were in such bad shape, they're all down. It was all, they cleaned it up. If you get a chance to go, there's some other areas that you need to go and look at in Lakeview that we have been looking at. There's some very bad things happening. I don't know, we talked to our building department and they're checking it out for us. There is, was that Rose Avenue, Teresa, that we were on? Off of, what street was that? Off of Woodfield Road. They're doing a lot of building back there. We called them. We sent our people there from the building department and they let it, getting, what do I want to say? Yeah, stop work on it. They can't do it. But so we need you. We thank you for what you're doing. So just do that too. If you see anything, like that, send it to us. We don't have a problem with it. We'll take care of it.
Great.
Okay, so thank you so much for your advocacy.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to ask the Commissioner to go to the back of the radar to go through the schedule. And like I said, we'll try and get the state and the county, to clean her up tonight. It's kind of frustrating, but I'll be with you right now. Okay? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
One more
Yeah, absolutely.
And regarding the roads, we are, we sent emails about Woodfield Road, and we know that you guys are on that as well. Also, regarding to other roads within the Lakeview community that needs to be repaved, not just repatched. We've had some cave-ins in some of our roads on Ontario. We would like to know, and also on Pine Brook coming off of Ocean and Champlain. We would need those repaving. We've gotten many repatches, but we would like to inquire about that as well.
Then I'm also going to ask my engineering commissioner. He's going to lead us in. They're going to meet you in the back and they'll go over with it. Okay?
Perfect. And also with the playground, we thank you. We see that the playground has been renovated as far as the slides. We also wanted to mention the swings were never touched in how many years as well. So if we're doing the playground, we would like to, and also the benches. Swings and benches.
By the way, trifecta. That's the Parks Commissioner. He's going to have you too. All right?
Thank you very much for answering my questions.
No problem. Thanks for coming today.
You can call us anytime, okay?
My respective commissioners would give you a helping hand. That'd be great. Thank you. Next, I have Belinda Myers. Hi, Ms. Myers. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you just give me your name and address.
Belinda Myers, Lakeview. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Kiana said. Basically, for Harold Walker Park, I was here a couple of, I think in May, petitioning for the basketball court to be repaved. The commissioner took me in the back.
Frank, wait, hold on. Hey, Frank, why did you give me a thumbs up?
It's happening.
Oh, there you go. It's happening.
It's happening, what time frame? Because you said that before.
Very soon. Very soon.
What does very soon mean?
We had paving, the companies that we have on contract paving. Too many jobs going on, but very soon.
But you got a commitment, it's getting done.
Okay, thank you. Also, our pool, privacy sheets that you put around the thing.
Hold on, wait a minute, hold on. He's like giving thumbs up back here. I love it.
Handle that also.
We purchased them, they'll be going up prior to the opening of the pool.
Oh, now I still got time, so I.
Listen, we have spent, I know, I've come down there, I've gone to that park, I see what's going on, and he's been working with me to get all of that done. We're going to put new fencing as well, I've seen that, so don't worry, it's going to get done.
Appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Okay, no, I got 2 more minutes.
Oh, well,
we want an answer, because I was here last time speaking about this too. On Pine Brook, the resident who has literally taken over that block with illegal cars in his yard, on the street, I've called the 5th Precinct, I've called the Pop Unit, I've called the Court Enforcers, I've spoken to everyone known to man to take care of this 430 Pine Brook Avenue.
Wait, what was the address again?
430 Pine Brook Avenue. He has, there are illegal trucks with no license on the street. He has 4 or 5 vehicles in front of his house that have no proper paperwork, and they're just there for years. We're not talking weeks, months. This has been years. And so the community just wants to know, how long does it take to remove vehicles from the street? I get it. You ticket it, and then you wait. If this was on your block where you live, anybody on the panel, it would have been handled. Let's face it.
Don't say that.
Oh, come on. It would have been handled.
I don't have a driveway or a garage. I got to park in front of my house. But
it's not, no.
Yeah, John, Commissioner, and John, we got the building commissioner here right now. I got John Lipinski, who's one of our investigators and inspectors. Can we take the time to follow up what's going on there? Absolutely. Great. After you're done talking, they're going to meet with you as well.
Okay, we'll get a meeting and they'll assure me, and then I'll come back 2 months later and there'll be no movement. We want movement. You know, enough with the words, enough with, oh, we're looking into it. We need action, not words. Thank you. Okay.
I don't have any other slips. Anybody else that did not sign in wishes to be heard? Good. You raise your hand. Your turn. Give his name and address for the record. Morning.
Morning. Marcia DiTieri, Merritt, New York. First, I'd like to submit photos, as I always do, on all these beautiful trees that are being removed daily. I'm here today wishing everyone a belated Happy Mother's Day. The reason I'm bringing this up is due to my Mother's Day, starting at exactly 8 a.m. on that Sunday, to the sound of chainsaws. Sadly, the remaining 4 80-year-old trees removed from the property on 16 Fletcher Avenue in Tiny Town. The others were beautiful old oak trees that shaded the bungalow that stood there for over 80 years. The remaining trees stood around the perimeter of the property, but again, due to lack of protection, were cut down by the developers from Staten Island that bought the property. This property, and so many like it, are being bought up by developers and builders, as I have informed the board time after time. No commitment to the neighborhood, the environment, or the constituents that watch their environment and the wildlife that have always been there being destroyed. Prime nesting season with babies unable to fend for themselves wind up in the ground, or on the wood chipper with the trees due to no protection from the people that are supposed to protect the constituents and our environment, namely the town board. Currently, there are 139 homes for sale in Merritt, Belmore, and East Meadow, which seem to be the areas that hit the worst, and another 335 in contract or just closed. If even a fraction of those homes are bought by companies just for profit, the devastation will be irreversible. Just an example of how little people know and how little tree cutters care. I knocked on the door at 1676 Prospect Avenue in East Meadow and asked the woman why she was having her beautiful tree in the yard cut down, as in the picture I showed you. She said, I have allergies to pollen, and the company, Underpine Tree Service, told her that the pollen wouldn't bother her if she cut her tree down. Once again, for profit only, misinforming those that should have more knowledge. That is why we need protection. It's great that people want a better life, but when it destroys so many other lives, you have to step in and say we need to protect everyone, not just those who have no awareness of the effects. It's time to follow other townships who see the devastation this is causing and want to live harmoniously with nature and each other. If for no other reason, trees and shade keep people calm, happy, and healthy. It's beyond time. And I just have one quick thing about the animal shelter. If you give me 1 minute. On another note, I do not know if you were aware, I would like to take the time to do a walkthrough through the animal shelter. There are over 100 dogs there, countless cats.
Okay, thank you, Ms. DiGiorgio. If you'd like to stick around, I know that the Commissioner, Jerry Marino, will talk to you about your concerns on the shelter right now. Jerry, raise your hand. Wave. There you go. Wave fast. Sure, get right there you go. Okay. He'll stick around and talk to you about it right now. Next I have...
I'd just like to point something out, that even just on today's administrative calendar, there are several resolutions for tree preservation. So we're not just going around ripping down trees or pulling out trees, we're actively preserving trees that are in need of. And every tree that is pulled out has been studied. They don't just rip it out because somebody has allergies.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Can I answer that?
No, you can stick around after, reach out to her. We have a couple more speakers I want to get to here. Rosalind Pierre?
There are no more speakers.
Yes, if you would, please, back there, thanks. Good morning, if you give your name and address to the record, thanks.
Good morning, I'm from Lakeview. This is actually my first time here.
Welcome.
Thank you. In addition to what the two ladies who are from Lakeview had relayed, I have the same concern. In addition to that, I believe that there are very little trees in my town. I believe that it's very necessary for us to continue to add trees because I've noticed many of my neighbors are cutting down trees in addition to construction workers who also cut down the trees. I think it's unnecessary. Another concern that I have is besides the too much garbage in the area, our water district is in high cost. What I mean by this is per unit, if I had to compare it to my electricity bill, it's about the same. And my request is, could we have our own water district for Lakeview? Or if we cannot have that, maybe we should share the water district with West Hempstead.
What's the name of your water district?
We have American Water, which has recently changed its name. I don't recall exactly.
I know that they're doing a, Commissioner Reiner here? Say his name. Oh. I know that the commissioner's on it for the potential merger of it if they're doing the study and the cost of doing the whole thing. Yeah?
You're taking a look into the cost to absorb what, like your town Hempstead.
There was a bill in Albany there were two bills in Albany, one to create the North Shore Water Authority and then one for the South Shore. And what the state did was, for the North Shore residents, they passed the bill and then gave $1 million to those residents to do the study. And for us in the South Shore, they just passed the bill and gave us no money whatsoever. So the town actually ended up, putting that money forth for the residents, even though we don't quite understand why they wouldn't give us any money. And they're looking at the potential of the town taking over American Water to see the cost benefit of it. So when that's done, we'll know. We just want to make sure that it is cost effective when you do this stuff, and it makes sense for everybody involved. It's going to save some money. As for the West Hempstead Water District, I couldn't speak to them. I don't know if anybody's ever talked to them directly. That's a separate district of itself, so maybe you want to reach out to them directly, but they would have to make that determination.
I'm not too savvy in that area, so if I had to reach out to them, I probably would, but I need to know the route to go about it.
Why don't we, if you stick around for a couple, he just raised his hand there, he's going to get you the contact for it so you can reach out to them.
Okay, thank you.
All right? No problem.
Listen, but remember, Supervisor, we did write to the state and ask them to give us the same money on the south side as they gave to the north side. We didn't get it. They didn't give it to us. They gave it just to those people. And certainly, we were very concerned because we need the same amount of money that they're giving away to them. We should have it too, but our people in Albany did not take care of us.
Yeah, they did say they were going to look at it, but unfortunately, I don't know if they were submitted any bills. So, like I said, I don't know why the North Shore residents got $1 million and the tenants, the South Shore residents didn't, but that's what the state representatives do. But he'll get you the information from West Hempstead, okay?
Yeah, and just to give you an example of how my bill is, I paid about $100 per month for my water bill. And in comparison to my neighbor who lives, to my friend who lives in Westbury, who pays $50 every 5 to 6 months.
Gotcha, and like I said, they're going to just make sure it's cost effective for everybody. That's all. But we'll follow up and they'll give you the information right now. Okay, thanks for coming today. I don't have any other slips. Anybody else did not sign in wishes to be heard? If not, have an amazing Tuesday.